face. She screamed loudly and dropped a cup and saucer with a clatter onto a Japanese tray. Grant hurried back to the French window. In his haste he did not notice a long shoot of a Dorothy Perkins rose which trailed across his path, and it struck him smartly on the cheek. "I'm afraid I startled you, Mrs. Bates," he said, smiling so pleasantly that no woman or child could fail to put trust in him. "You did that, sir," agreed Mrs. Bates, collapsing into the chair Grant had just vacated. Like most red-faced people, Mrs. Bates turned a bluish purple when alarmed, and her aspect was so distressing now that Grant's smile was banished by a look of real concern. "I'm very sorry," he said contritely. "I had no notion you were in the room. Shall I call Minnie?" Minnie, it may be explained, was Mrs. Bates's daughter and assistant. The two, plus a whiskered Bates, gardener and groom, forming the domestic establishment presided over by Grant. "No, sir," stuttered the housekeeper. "It's stupid of me, but I'm not so young as I was, and me heart jumps at little things." Grant saw that she was recovering, though slowly. He thought it best not to make too much of the incident, but asked solicitously if he might give her some brandy. Mrs. Bates remarked that she was "not so bad as that," rose valiantly, and went on with her work. Her employer, who had gone into the garden again, saw out of the tail of his eye that she vanished with a half-laden tray. In a couple of minutes the daughter appeared and finished the slight task of cleaning the table. Meanwhile, Grant kept away from the small window. Being a young man who cultivated the habit of observation, he noticed that Minnie, too, cast scared glances at the window. When the girl had finally quitted the room, he laughed in a puzzled way. "Am I dreaming, or are there visions about?" he muttered. Urged, seemingly, by a sort of curiosity, he surveyed the room a second time through the same pane of glass. Being tall, he had to stoop slightly. Within, on the opposite side of the ledge, he saw the tiny brass candlestick, with its inch of candle, which he had used overnight while searching for a volume of Scott in the bookcase lining the neighboring wall. Somehow this simplest of domestic objects brought a thrill of recollection. "Oh, dash it all!" he growled good-humoredly. "I'm getting nervy. I must chuck this bad habit of working late and use the blessed hours of daylight." Yet as he sauntered down the lawn toward the stream he knew well that he would do nothing of the sort. He loved that time of peace between 10 at night and 1 in the morning. His thoughts ran vagrom then. Fantasies took shape under his pen which in the cold light of morning looked unreal and nebulous, though he had the good sense to restrain criticism within strict limits, and corrected style rather than matter. He was a writer, an essayist with no slight leaven of the poet, and had learnt early that the everyday world held naught in common with the brooding of the soul. But he was no long-haired dreamer of impossible things. Erect and square-shouldered, he had passed through Sandhurst into the army, a profession abandoned because of its humdrum nature, when an unexpectedly fat legacy rendered him independent. He looked exactly what he was, a healthy, clean-minded young Englishman, with a physique that led to occasional bouts of fox hunting and Alpine climbing, and a taste in literature that brought about the consumption of midnight oil. This latter is not a mere trope. Steynholme is far removed from such modern conveniences as gas and electricity. At present he had no more definite object in life than to watch the trout rising in the pool. He held the fishing rights over half a mile of a noted river, but by force of the law of hospitality, as it were, the stretch of water bordering the lawn was a finny